Hi, and welcome to the Mindful Jiu-Jitsu channel. My name is Chris Ong, and I'm a black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor and mental fitness coach. I also have 15 years prior experience in corporate sales. Now, whilst Jiu-Jitsu is a highly physical pursuit, on this channel I want to share some of my ideas on the mental aspects of the journey, in the hope that some of those concepts will resonate with some of you who might feel stuck or be struggling to progress. I recently read the awesome book Blue Ocean Strategy by Renee Moburn and W. Chan Kim, and although its content is focused on business growth, I couldn't help but notice the parallels to improving one's own jiu-jitsu performance. It made me realise that I have applied many of the book's core principles throughout my own jiu-jitsu journey. Allow me to elaborate. The first question to address is, what is a blue ocean? To quote Moburn and Kim, a blue ocean is an industry or market which is not currently in existence. Therefore, when a business establishes a blue ocean, there are no competitors, no rules, and no boundaries for aggressive exponential growth. The opposite of a blue ocean is a red ocean. A red ocean is an existing market or industry with defined boundaries and multiple competitors. These businesses compete aggressively for market share, and the cutthroat nature of the industry turns its waters red with blood. Some excellent examples of blue oceans in the business world include Cirque du Soleil, which created an uncontested entertainment experience incorporating elements of the circus and traditional theatre, as well as Apple's iPhone, which vastly improved the mobile phone's functionality via its innovative and user-friendly touchscreen. So, how does this apply to Jiu-Jitsu? Since I started training in 2006, I think that the biggest advances in performance at the highest level have been driven by athletes discovering their own blue oceans. There are several milestones which stand out for me. The first standout athlete in my mind was Marcelo Garcia, who had a hugely significant influence on the development of no-gi grappling. The inventor of the X-guard showed everyone a new way to play open guard, and it resulted in many athletes studying his techniques in an attempt to replicate his success. Now, whilst he burst onto the grappling scene at the 2003 ADCC, his style was still cutting edge when I, as a spectator, watched him win the under-77 division at ADCC 2011 in Nottingham, England. I then distinctly remember a time from 2011 to 2014 when Gi Jiu-Jitsu was back in the spotlight. The Mendes and Mia brothers were widely admired for their berimbolo backtakes and sweeps. And then, in 2014, athletes started adding lapel guards to their repertoire after Keenan Cornelius debuted his tricky worm guard. Following that period, the introduction of the Eddie Bravo Invitational was arguably the most significant turning point in Jiu-Jitsu so far. Due to its innovative rule set, leg locks, and heel hooks in particular, were introduced to the mainstream and made stars of Gordon Ryan, Gary Tonin, and Eddie Cummings, the original Danaher Death Squad, in 2015 and 2016. Since then, no-gi grappling has gone from strength to strength to the point where I genuinely believe that in 2024 it is more popular than the gi format. Whilst these examples illustrate changes to the sport at the highest level, it is important to note that uncovering blue oceans isn't exclusively for the pros. You, as a hobbyist, can also apply this concept to benefit your jiu-jitsu. So, what are the key benefits to applying blue ocean strategy to jiu-jitsu? Firstly, it can provide true competitive advantage. In my humble opinion, independent study and learning is the key to getting ahead in jiu-jitsu. Even with the best coaches, if you just consume the same material as everyone else in a group class, it can often feel as though you aren't making meaningful progress. Because how can you expect to successfully implement techniques in live sparring that everyone has just seen and will therefore be hyper aware of what you were trying to do? In essence, in that group setting, even when you're being shown new techniques, you are essentially placing yourself squarely in the middle of a red ocean. Instead, I challenge you to look within your gym. Are there any movements or strategies being used in competition that aren't yet being taught in lessons? Perhaps you're a white belt novice and don't yet have the knowledge to identify these gaps. If this is the case, then look at your peers and think about what they aren't doing that you could possibly research. By using this approach, you can start to uncover your own blue oceans. And this is where the fun begins, as you start the learning process to add these new techniques to your game. Then, once you've reached a level of comfort and competence in this new blue ocean, you will have a competitive advantage over others in your gym. Chances are that even higher grades will be unfamiliar with your new movement patterns, and this will in turn improve your results in sparring. The second benefit is that it makes Jiu-Jitsu fun by encouraging exploration. In your quest to discover blue oceans, you'll have to be open to exploring multiple sources, and these sources may not be restricted purely to Jiu-Jitsu instruction. Whilst there are thousands of instructionals to consume from world-class competitors on platforms like BJJ Fanatics, the biggest modern advances have arguably come from outside our sport. I've already mentioned the leg lock revolution, which started in 2015. Most of the innovation in leg locks, in fact, came from Russian Sambo. Indeed, I first started learning heel hooks by studying American Sambo athletes, such as Scott Sonnen, who was the inventor of the saddle, and Riley Bodycomb. If we shift to looking at the current no-gi meta, athletes are investing heavily in wrestling and being able to fight from the bottom turtle position. It is exciting and fun to speculate how Jiu-Jitsu will continue to evolve. Perhaps coaches and athletes will find useful techniques from sumo, or dare I say, Aikido, at some point in the future. The third benefit is that it drives long-term continuous growth in your Jiu-Jitsu. For me, adopting this blue ocean approach has provided me with unyielding motivation to train over the last 18 years. And we are at a point in time where the information you need to improve your game is right at your fingertips. I honestly feel that I have improved more in the last 2 years than I have in the previous 10, and I know that I still have so much headroom for growth. I'm excited about the future and no longer limit myself to the law of diminishing returns just because I have a black belt. And so to conclude, the choice is yours as to whether you want to implement blue ocean strategy in your Jiu-Jitsu. If you do elect to play this game, however, the book warns that no blue ocean lasts forever. When a successful blue ocean is discovered, new players will want to enter the market to grab their share of the spoils. This has been true for some of the most iconic consumer products, whether that be the Ford Model T car in the 1920s, or Zoom's video conferencing software, which exploded during COVID lockdowns. In both cases, despite their massive head starts, competitors caught up and eventually turned the oceans red. And this is also true of Jiu-Jitsu. The advantage enjoyed by leg lock experts in 2015 has now evaporated. Nowadays, every top-level no-gi grappler is proficient in leg locks, or at the very least, good at defending them. This aspect of no-gi jiu-jitsu is now very much a crowded marketplace, to use business terminology. A commitment to continuous discovery of blue oceans is what will keep your jiu-jitsu fresh. Now, the alternative to blue ocean strategy is to choose to swim in the red oceans. And don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with this. Many of you watching would prefer to optimize a more basic game. However, as I mentioned at the start, I believe that this is the slower, tougher route to growth. I consider Roger Gracie to be the pinnacle of fundamental BJJ, in the sense that he has taken the basics that we all learn in the first year of Jiu-Jitsu and dialed them up to the max. His phenomenal performance at the 2009 Mundials, in which he defeated all 9 of his opponents with the same cross choke from mount, is unlikely to ever be repeated. This is why many, including me, consider him to be the GOAT of Gi Jiu-Jitsu. Now, I want to use Roger as an example because he is at the top of that fundamental Jiu-Jitsu red ocean. Whilst learning the fundamentals is absolutely imperative, you need to understand that there is a huge barrier to achieving success by exclusively swimming in this red ocean. Namely the fact that 99% of the Jiu-Jitsu population is learning the same intellectual property, so to speak. As a result, I think it is more challenging to elevate yourself in that marketplace compared to swimming in an uncontested blue ocean. So, those are some of my thoughts on blue ocean strategy for Jiu-Jitsu. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. If you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate the support. And if you've made it this far, thanks for listening, and please stay tuned for more content from the Mindful Jiu-Jitsu channel.